David Seven, a.k.a. Diz, and this is The Force Always.
Okay, so welcome to the show for this week. It has been a bit more than a week. Again, I do apologise, but here in Melbourne, Australia, we are experiencing another lockdown, quite strict lockdown. People are not going to work. You've got to try and get your vaccination. You can only leave home because of getting food or a doctor or just very minimal things like that. It's been quite an ordeal. Once again, we are in pretty much full lockdown, besides the extra sort of rule of having to venture to get a vaccine if you can do that, or if you want to do that. So it's been quite, so that's why partly I've had a bit of a delay, and just, life happens. But anyway, that's not really the Star Wars news, but letting you know why I haven't been bringing the Star Wars news. But let's get into the Star Wars news, which is really not a whole lot. Sort of a blessing in disguise at the moment, not bringing the news and views and reviews and interviews straight away. But probably the big news for this week, John Boyega, who played Finn in 7, 8, 9, that's episode 7, 8, 9 for the Star Wars trilogy, has said that he is open to, coming back into Star Wars, whatever form that is, maybe Disney Plus series or maybe another movie, we don't know, but he is open after sort of expressing that his dislike where the character of Finn went. But yeah, so that's pretty much the big news at the moment, which is only small but it's big. And to more news, there's been no more news on the Republic, the Rangers of the New Republic falling out. What's happened with that, we don't know. Sort of really has disappeared from the limelight in news at the moment, so we don't know any more news with that. And to more news, Star Wars Celebration still is offline. So really, it's these news items I'm giving you are pretty much things that are just not happening, but it is news in a sense anyway. So that's pretty much the news for this time around. Let's get into the views. So the views is my story ideas I have with Star Wars itself, whether it's a saga, whether it's the a standalone film or a book or just a simple story. Because we've got John Boyega in the limelight again with a bit of news, what is the best story for him to have? I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think the ultimate new trilogy that should connect to the characters we know in this trilogy, which was 7, 8, 9, even though it was taken so greatly, I think Finn should have his own standalone film as an episodic saga episode, if you were to put it that way. But it would be in the form of, I think, number 10 or number 11, and then 12, that's episode 10, 11, and episode 12 would be where Rey would come into the picture once again. That would be a really, really good idea to have those characters sort of have a standalone film each, but still involving themselves in the Star Wars universe in some sort of adventure that connects these stories together with a plan and connects these stories together with an ultimate conclusion and another sort of good versus bad sort of moments. So I think Finn's story, or John Boyega, should carry on the character, and I think he will personally. I mean, seriously, if I was absolutely treated wrongly in a Star Wars film and I was in a Star Wars film, I think I'd still come back, but that's me. Anyway, so that's my story idea for this time around. Let's get into the reviews. Reviews is last week's episode of The Bad Batch. And the Bad Batch episode had, and this is going to be some spoilers here if you don't want to know, it had a character we may have seen before, but we don't know. It's a Rancor. A Rancor is that big sort of dinosaur, sort of monster character we saw in Return of the Jedi fight Luke Skywalker in Jabba's palace. He sort of made an appearance possibly as a baby version in this particular Bad Batch episode. We don't know if it's the actual one, but if it is, it's a great connection. Look, straight off the bat, this particular episode was about a 6.9. I'm finding the whole Bad Batch at this stage a little bit, it's falling off a little. It's not really, it doesn't have a lot of strength to it in its story. The last two episodes, have picked up and they're sort of holding steady, but there's just not enough, juice, not enough substance, sort of reason to watch the next episodes besides just watching the episode. Visually it's stunning, musically it's stunning, the character voices, everything like that. The idea is good, but it's just not really carrying out a great storyline. But 6.9 for the last episode that we saw, and I can't remember the name of the episode. My God, it was about a week ago. This pandemic here is just out of control, but it's in control. Let me just put this to the fact that it's not out of control here. We're just going through a very strict times here in Melbourne. But anyway, let's get back into the review. 6.9 for the Bad Batch episode on Disney Plus weekly on a Friday night here about 6 or 7 p.m. Depends when it drops, and then the rest of the world, obviously different times, but it's awesome. It all comes out at the same time, different parts of the world. But anyway, that's my review for this time around. Let's get into interviews. Interviews is 2 questions where I ask myself for you guys out there. First question is, connecting to the Bad Batch, am I really wanting to see more Bad Batch in a season 2? I'll say no. I think there should be a season 1 and an only one season. I think it's just hasn't got enough in it to really carry through. You could have more about it, but the story seems to be just sort of idling. They haven't created a whole lot of, sort of interesting ideas that really bring it up. It is also in a restrictive timeline. I think it's a deserving one season. I don't know how many episodes. I've not sort of seen that as yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's under 10. It really is just idling. It's okay. The first episode was by far the best. But yeah, so would I want to see... So the question is, would I want to see anything past season 1? I think let's just keep it as a season 1 and only season 1. So that's the first question. Second question, what are we expecting from Star Wars next? Well, the next thing technically in a photo finish at the moment is Mandalorian Season 3 and the Obi-Wan series. Which is going to come first, we don't actually know yet. I think what's going to happen is Obi-Wan may come out before the Mandalorian Season 3. I've got a small feeling Mandalorian 3 is not going to come out at the end of this year as expected, with the other ones being at the end of... towards the end of each year, about October. Season 1, Season 2 was similar sort of time period. I think it was October, September, something like that, or maybe November. But I think the next thing we're going to actually see is Obi-Wan Kenobi. A trailer, a poster would be great to see, sort of give a sort of understanding in some sort of direction where this is going to go. I'm again one of these people not overly excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but I'm still up for it. I think it will be good. Star Wars does turn out usually good, sometimes a bit flat like the Bad Batch and other things, but still, it's Star Wars. I love it. I accept it what it is. So really, technically, in the next 6 months, we're going to be looking at either Obi-Wan Kenobi or The Mandalorian Season 3. So stick around for those. Look, that's pretty much this week for The Force Always. Just be on notice at the moment, the lockdown here in Melbourne, Australia could be continuing, which is going to cause a bit of a rippling effect with many things in everyone's life here. So we're just sort of on edge and waiting what's happening next to get out of this. I'm sure I'll be here next week doing another episode. It might be a tad over a week, I don't know. It could be less than a week, I don't know. But I'm really trying to cement this to be a weekly episode. It's roughly weekly at the moment, so I do apologize. But if you have any messages, you have any questions, just YouTube message me, or Twitter, or even Instagram. All my details are down below. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.